live one more time. Let's do it on the K-2S show. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, whether you're live or listening on your favorite podcast app. This is the Resistance broadcast, and this is the last K-2S show, as you are not tired talking about Andor. We're still not tired talking about Andor, so we're going to do it now. We were away last week. We'll get into that on Monday. We had a very whirlwind trip out to San Francisco, visiting Lucasfilm, visiting Skywalker Ranch. We'll talk all about that on Monday, but we are here to talk about Andor, episodes 10 through 12. We got to close it out, and with me, as always, is Lacey. How are you, Lacey?
Hello. I'm good. I'm excited to talk about this. It was so good. This series is so good. And every time I see interviews with Tony or whoever, I watch them. All of them, every single one, because this show is that good.
Yeah, I loved season 2 way more than season 1. And I really liked season 1, but they really brought it this year, and Tony Gilroy just delivered and went out on a high note. So for everybody joining us live in the live chat, thank you so much. I see some super chats coming in already. Yes, we have super chats available. Not sure when we're going to be live again, so we appreciate all the support. If you do submit a super chat, it will be light sped up to the front of the line and read on the show, and we will talk about your comment on the show. But keep the chat live. Keep it coming. We have a lot of fun and surprises in store for you on this episode. And don't forget, at the end of the show, since there's nothing to speculate on, we reached out online and got some of your feedback on your favorite moments from the entire series of Andor, so we'll read a bunch of those as well. So a lot to get into. Oh, and our giveaway winner. We have a winner that we'll announce later as well. But Lacey, before we get into any of this and get into the K2 scale, it's a lot. We love so Andor, but it's been a lot. And even Tony Gilroy said, I feel bad for the podcasters and stuff. And we've been bringing in guests every week to help us talk about this stuff. You know, 2 weeks ago, we were with the HoloNet Marauders talking about that heavy third arc of the series. And now this one, pretty much just as heavy. So I think we might need a little help again. What do you think?
We need an expert, I think.
We need someone who loves Rogue One. We need someone who loves Andor. And we need someone who knows how to talk about this stuff specifically with us. So why don't we bring that person in right now?
Okay. Wait, hold on. There it is.
There he is! He's back, baby!
He's back, Baney.
James Baney
podcaster
is back.
Returns.
James is back. Welcome back, James. It is really good to see you, buddy. You should have told us that your key card to the base hasn't been working for the last year. I didn't know that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I had it checked out. I'm gonna have to get with administration again, but it just hasn't been working.
The HR department just the voicemail is full. But it is so good to see you, buddy. I see the chat is just lighting up right now. Everyone is very happy that James is back.
Hello, everybody.
It is so cool to have you in here, especially like we teased at the top, you know, how much you love Rogue One. It's one of, if not your favorite Star Wars movies. This show, I would imagine, might even make that movie better for you. So I just want to toss to you, man, to say hello to the Resistance base, all of our listeners, and let everybody know what you've been up to this past year besides being a diehard sports fan.
yeah, keeping up with my soccer and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been crazy. It's just a different thing that I was so used to podcasting all the time that all of a sudden it felt like I had a bunch of free time, you know, and like being able to take the time and just sort of relax and be with the family and just know and kind of get used to that, like, I'm available. Like, yeah, let's work on that project. Let's do that thing. And so it has been really relaxing and nice, but you know, it is missed. You know, it's something that's really enjoyable to have that connection with people and be able to watch that thing and talk about that thing. I've never been much for social media. I use it, but like, I don't get on there and talk on it and socialize in that way. I do enjoy that face-to-face communication. I talk with people, and that's why, you know, I wanted to do the podcast 8 years ago. You know, it was important to me to sit down with people and have that discussion about Star Wars. So to not regularly have that with the diehards was very missed. So it is great to be back and see you guys again. And everybody. And I saw Kyle called it like right at the beginning, like
He
before
called
the
on
show he started.
Discord
He's like, cross
today.
your
He was
fingers.
like, I really hope it's James. So this one's for you, Kyle B. Cal.
Yeah. And I
Kyle
don't know how
got
many
it.
people know or not, but I threw Cassian as a name for my son when he was born that got vetoed. But that's how much I love Rogue One. That's how much I love the character. And you can
We
believe
know
me
how much you love it.
now.
Look at
Oh,
that.
yeah.
We
That's
know.
where you've been. Okay, now
Yeah.
I get
He's
it.
been really
Now
busy.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
All right.
property value went down a couple years ago. There was a big mining incident there. And
snap.
but yeah.
The strongest properties in Ohio have Hearts of Kyber, James. You know that.
That's it.
No, it's really good to have you, buddy. It's good to see you, and I have a feeling we're just gonna flow as we always have. So again, for everybody in the chat, thank you for being with us. We're gonna have a great show. We're gonna get into the K2 scale in a moment and rate these 3 episodes, episodes 10 through 12. So we have Make It Stop, Who Else Knows, and Jeddah Kyber Urso, written by Tom Bissell, directed by Alonso Ruiz Palacios, and taking it home with Tony Gilroy and company. The last time we're going to see Diego Luna as Cassian Andor. But James, real quick, and we're going to get to the super chats in just a moment. So that whole thing about naming your son Cassian, that was just straight up Rogue One. That was before, Andor and any of this.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I loved the character then. And I mean, it's incredible how much more we know about him and how much more we have the ability to say, that's one of our favorite Star Wars characters. I mean, even at the time, it was like kind of Jin's movie. It wasn't even really Kaz. He's a
Right.
main character, but like if you look at the poster, like they definitely put her up in the front. So it's kind of interesting now to see that as sort of a closure to 2 seasons of a television show that also involves him. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I watched Rogue One. That's old.
I
So
know. That's why I'm laughing. To kind of
It kind of
awakens. Oh my
awakens.
god, it's James Walter Baney.
Yeah, I think I used to make up a middle name for James back in the day.
Yeah.
Yes. you did.
But yeah, I watched Rogue One after finishing Andor, and you do see it more from like Cassian's perspective, even though no frames have changed, no dialogue has changed, but it just tilts the axis a little bit and puts him more to the forefront because everything that he carried with him. So
And it's interesting too, the way that like in some ways it I think everybody's leaning on it made it better. And other times I go like, oh, that's a little weird. You know what I mean? It was kind of like this and that. Like the only thing that like it really stuck out to me is when I first put it on and like Saw opens up when it's supposed to be like Jin's a girl, like a young child, and he's already got all the stuff on, and I'm like, yeah, missed that. Couple little things, but I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but no fault, really.
Yeah. I mean, Star Wars does that a lot, especially how often Star Wars goes back to go forward again. It's just the Star Wars way. All right, so before we get into rating it, let's get to those super chats, Lacey. I know we have a few in there already.
We do. First up, Andrew Staley. What up, man? Thanks so much. He said, I have TRB friends everywhere. Hope you both had an amazing trip to Lucasfilm. Thank you. Really appreciate it. It was crazy. I made John take a Waymo.
Did you guys do it?
That's awesome. I made him do it.
Took me a couple of Manhattans, and but I did it.
Next is Christy. What up, girl? She said, I have friends everywhere. That's going to be a phrase that everybody's using all the time. All the time. Will's up. Will the Force. Hey, Will. How's it going? He said, truly the only bad thing about Andor season 2 is that it won't be a season 3. Thanks for recapping every week. No, thank you for coming on. Like, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us for 2 hours. I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, 2 hours. David Ford's up. What up, man? He said, looks like I was right about Bix carrying Cassian's son. You were, David. He said, will we see him surface during the New Republic era? Welcome back, James.
Hey,
I don't know if we will. John, I feel like we threw this out like randomly to ourselves, not out loud, because we didn't want to spoil it. But like we were like, I said to you, I was like, do you think he'll show up later? And you're like, I hope not. I think that's what you said.
It reminds me of Jason Sindula a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, and also the thing about Andor, it's like there's been so much screen time, obviously not for the kid, but Bix
Mm,
and all these characters have more screen time than like Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and stuff. It's like
mm.
it's okay to see their story end. Like you don't, in my opinion, you don't need to see like we're gonna see with Ahsoka, I assume, birth through death for every character in Star Wars. I think it's okay to say Bix had the child, she went off, she lived for Cassian, all that stuff. They'll probably make books and things like that. But I'm seeing a lot of people, we need a Clea series now, we need a Bix series. I'm like, could we
Mm.
just sort of embrace what we just got and like let's just breathe for a little bit? But we'll see.
James, do you want a Cassian son story?
I think John nailed it on the head. Like it's
Welcome
huge,
back,
and
James.
Don't come back and agree with him. Come on, we brought you back to not agree.
Yeah. No, it honestly even feels like something that was so traumatic for Bix that she wouldn't want her son, or daughter, the child, to have anything to do with that at all.
Fair.
Not that it's her choice when you're talking about the New Republic era against like the First Order and all that. I mean,
Mhm.
at that point, that kid would be 35 or something. You know what I mean? So it's like it's hard to say what an adult would do in that situation. But it is kind of one of these things where it's like, I never knew my dad because he died for the rebellion. Is that a
Mhm.
thing that inspires somebody, or is
Or
that
does
a
she
thing
keep
that,
it quiet?
yeah, it doesn't? But again, to John's point, it's like we don't necessarily need that story. Like it's one of these things like at this point right now, I'm not personally invested in their kid. And if you're going to spend money on a Star Wars property, give me this character or that character, or an era that we've never gotten before. I don't need another one. I don't need another one right now, at least.
Good
Yeah.
points. Kyle, B, what up, Kyle? He said the man, the myth, the legend is back. So excited for the three of you together again, James. Hope you've been great. So excited to get your perspective on Andor. I know it was your most anticipated show. He did. He's been holding this flag for you, James. He's like,
Guys. Yeah. I mean, Kyle, I'm so glad. Like, here's the, like, it was. Everybody knows. I mean, everybody. I don't know if there's like retrospective Star Wars right now, but like, or retroactive. I don't even know what the term is, but like looking back, is like, oh, I always knew Andor was going to be great. I remember when it was announced, and it was like, who's asking for this? And I was like, me.
I
I'm
said I wasn't. I was the person that was
very
not.
excited for this show. I think it's going to be amazing. That is the story that I think people really want in Star Wars. I didn't expect it to have the tone that it was going to have. I kind of expected Rogue One, but it definitely leaned even further, right?
You were
But
you were like Andor, I can't. I'm so pumped for Andor. I'm like, dude, Obi-Wan. That's the one. That's the show.
Yeah,
Oh my
no.
God, John with Obi-Wan. He was like, they have to get this right.
It cannot fail.
And guess what? It did. For you at least, John. Partially.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate it. Next is Jamie. What up, Jamie? Thoughts on special editions of Rogue and Return of the Jedi, inserting some surviving characters, Vel, etc. I'm gonna say I don't think it needs it. I think that once you get into inserting people and taking people out and stuff, it just, I don't know. It feels weird to me. It doesn't feel genuine. It feels like, hey, we're just shoving this in here. What do you guys think?
I mean, I like that when you talk about the special editions, and then we had talked about like, oh, well, if they do a prequel version, I would like to see that. But just to maybe make, if George wanted to make tweaks to modern technology for Jar Jar, you want to add some wrinkles or something like that, like just beef it up to the modern tech. But story stuff, I don't think that's a good idea. This
Mm.
show exists because Rogue One exists, which exists because John Knoll exists, which exists because the Crawl of A New Hope exists, and it's sort of like, I I think that would be troublesome to think that now we need to change this movie, because there might be people who watch Rogue One. There are probably a lot of people. If you get out of the bubble of the diehard Star Wars fans, there's a good chance it made over $1 billion. A lot of people saw Rogue One that haven't watched Andor, and they're going to be like, "You're changing this movie now? Like, what are you doing?" So I understand where you're coming from, Jamie, because there were certain parts rewatching Rogue One, I'm like, man, if he just mentioned Bix by name for a second, like right here or something like that, or Krennic mentions, Daedra or what have you. It ties it more, but I don't think it needs more tying. It's seamless. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think I'm
James.
always been interested in the idea of the prequel special edition. I think we're all looking at it now and we're like, oh, we love this, but like you can see it's dated, at the time. So that would always be really cool if they wanted to do it, but I don't think Rogue One needs it right now, especially since I was kind of someone that always said that, you can have all of these Rebels characters. You can have General Syndulla, and it's okay that we don't see her in the original trilogy because it was really focused on this story. And it's not that that character's not there fighting, doing other things, being a part of the rebellion as a whole, but you don't necessarily need to see it. And I think that when you consider Rogue One, I just don't think, I think it's fine. It flows into or out of Andor perfectly. And having those extra characters there, I just feel like would probably end up dragging out and making it just a long movie. And you're like, oh, all these scenes, I mean, they're neat, but like they don't really help, do anything. Although I'm hearing people say that they think Rogue One feels rushed now, but I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
like everything moves so fast, and I'm like, well,
It's
I
a
think it's
movie.
fine still.
It's a Star Wars
Nice to the
movie.
show.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie, who also responded that great points, all. You're welcome. That's why we're here. Darth Snips is up. What up, girl? She said, welcome back, James. Loved this season and want to know who was everyone's favorite character arc this season. James, we'll start with you. Favorite character arc?
Probably Cyril.
Ooh,
Oh, that's good.
that's a good choice.
I think like there was a mid-season where I was like, I think this guy's gonna like defect or something or sacrifice himself for the rebellion. And it didn't quite happen, but I mean, I think we're all like, he was like upset. Like his life was, he did not like the Empire by the end of it and was gonna do something. At the moment he's fighting Andor, yeah, I can understand that, but he didn't get the opportunity to move past that. What happens if he survives that scene? He probably just goes off and deals with it or whatever. But to go from where he was season 1 and then even still at the beginning of season 2 to where he ended up standing there with the gun in hand pointed at Andor, that's a crazy jump for that character.
Good
What do you think,
point.
John?
I'm gonna do the cliche pick and say Cassian Andor. Mainly because I remember one of my big criticisms of season 1 was I felt like every time we were talking about big moments from episodes, it wasn't Cassian. And I was like, the show's called Andor, and it's like Kino Loy's doing this, and Marva's doing this, and all these big quotes, Brasso, and all these big quotes, and all these big moments for all these other people. And now this time, from soup to nuts, all the way to the slow walk, which they made look cool, which is hard to do. Cassian, really just how they told his story and how he went from where he left off in season 1 to the guy we meet in Rogue One. I thought they did such a great job.
Awesome. I'm gonna pick Bix, which is no surprise because I've been saying that the entire season. Excuse me. Just from the fact that she was so broken in the beginning and then she like fought back numerous times and then ended up getting like super healthy and fell in love with Cassian, and they have this beautiful, lovely relationship, but then she was willing to sacrifice it for the greater good to save her son. I'm going with her.
Mm-hmm.
She killed it.
Right
So good.
Thank you, Snips.
She kept it
All
alive.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Next is Mike Mori. What up, man? He said, hey, James, I've been practicing my Top Golf game for our rematch. This is going to be an
Yes.
electric show. I heart TRB. We heart you too, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks,
You
Mike.
guys played Top Golf?
Yeah. I won one, he won one, and then we kind of had this other one where I can't remember who did, but it was like really close, like really tied. It was kind of a stupid game anyway. It was like, you got 1.5 billion points. You're like, whatever. It doesn't,
Is that the thing where
we
you
were really
roll
close.
the ball? Like,
Yeah.
you roll it like an arcade? Like
The one that we
Is that that thing?
tied, it was like, yeah, it's like hits the ground and then it's just like hitting targets as it goes along. We're like, this is just made up. They're just making things up.
Sounds like there's a maybe a pie bet between you and Mike on who wins that last game,
Ooh.
I guess.
See that?
Do we have another one rolling in, Lacey?
We do. Sneaky zebra. What, man? He said,
Hey.
is he saying Waney? Wait, Wahi? Wehe? Yay?
Wahi.
Oh, made it for a live stream and not driving. Congrats.
there you
I'm
go.
glad you're not driving.
Gary. Thanks,
Unless
man.
you're in a Waymo, then you don't need to drive. You could just be in the car and it drives for you.
Chilling.
Thank you very much. Excited to have you here. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a stream without Freezy2324. What up, man? Somehow James
Freezy.
returned. Welcome back, man. Would you like to see a standalone Rebel type movie set between Star Wars and Empire? John, I'm going to start with you this time.
Not right now. Maybe like my Rebel appetite. It's like I love pizza, but after like 4 slices, I'm like, I'm good for a while. And it's like I just got an overdose on Rebels right now.
What kind
Not
of
the show
pizza?
Rebels, but New Haven style, crispy cheese pizza. That's what kind of pizza.
John, your opinions have changed so much.
James, what do you think? Would you want a movie set between Star Wars and Empire?
If it's animated, I would do that. If
Ooh.
you give me the Luke, Han, Leia animated between A New Hope and Empire, and it's a movie, then I think you got something on your hands there. But just like what John was saying too, I think this is an era that needs a break right now, currently, after 2 really heavy, dark seasons of a television show. So give us something else. I mean, it gets you excited for Ahsoka, where it's like, ooh, the lore and the Force and the mystical,
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I would watch it just because it's more Star Wars. I'm never going to say no to more Star Wars. So anytime someone's like, would you want this? I'm like, sure. Although at the same time, I'm saying yes and something else is getting a no. So
Yeah.
I wish I knew, like, in the queue what was being made.
Yeah, I know.
So I could be like, no, I'll pass on this because I want this.
They pass on it, and it's like, all right, we'll do the I can't even think of anything off the top of my head. I was
Bad
trying to think
Batch
of
7.
who's the girl you hate from Last Jedi?
Oh my God, Tally Lintra.
Tally Lintra. All right, Tally Lintra movie. You asked for it.
I wouldn't watch that. That would be my not watching story of a Star Wars story. Anyway, last but not least, David Ford's back again. Hey, man, he said Ferrex Construction Company. People are dying to get our bricks. And there it is.
There he is.
I was waiting for it.
All right, we got to talk about this show.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about the show yet.
Yeah. All right, let's get into it with the pomp and circumstance. I'm going to cut right to the prize thing, and then we'll get into the show. So the prize of the rebellion. We want to thank everybody who entered. If you don't recall, at the very beginning of this season, we wanted you to use the Force to do a blind guess as to which episode was our favorites, each of ours, Lacey and myself. And if you guessed right, you get an entry into the raffle. If you guessed both right, you get 2 entries into the raffle. Thank you, everybody who submitted. We got a ton of entries. We appreciate it. One guy was like, I refuse to email you, DM me. So I was like, you're not winning. So we do have a winner, and the winner of the Star Wars Black.
Before you say who it is.
Yeah.
Did they get both of us right? One of us right?
Nobody got both of us right because I think we inadvertently threw them off. We didn't know, but we both liked the same episode, and I don't think anybody thought to guess the same episode for both of us. So nobody guessed. Some got me for 9, some picked you for 9, because me and Lacey's favorite episodes were both episode 9. Welcome to the Rebellion.
That's like when it's a double letter in Wordle.
Yeah. Oh, you still Wordle? Yeah. Is that what's going on?
No, somebody brought it up.
Wordling for a year?
Is it a double letter? And I was like, those are the words.
So much. I don't know who this person is.
You're like, oh, right. The letter R was twice.
The winner of the Star Wars Black Series Imperial Death Trooper electronic helmet, plus a K-2S show shirt. I'm finally got mine. Wearing it.
It was only sitting at my house for a month and a half, but yeah, you got it.
And a mug of the K-2S show. And the winner is Des Smith. Des Smith.
Hey.
From always in our chats, always on social media, but answered the call, guessed one of ours right. and now is the winner, and is going to have a Death Trooper helmet. So congratulations to you, Des Smith. Thanks to everybody who entered. Obviously, more giveaways coming in the future. So keep participating, keep playing, and let's keep having fun. And we're going to continue the fun right here with one last super chat before we get into the K-2S scale.
All right. It's coming from Neil. What up, Neil? Hey, man. How's it going? He said, which, by the way, Neil's from LA area, and he's already planning for Celebration 2 years from now. So good on you, Neil.
Nice.
I'm exhausted.
I've buried my suitcase in the backyard. I dug a hole and buried it.
Neil said, got on as soon as I saw that James is back. Can't stay since I have a parent-teacher conference to go to. Yeah, you should probably do that. But so glad to see the trio back, baby. LOL. Hope y'all are... I said y'all, but you didn't say y'all. You all are doing amazing. Lots of love. Also, what an amazing show this was. It was.
Yeah.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you so much.
Neil is always awesome, man.
The best.
And I'm jealous
Best.
or envious. He got to go to the Back to the Future thing recently. It was very cool.
Oh, yeah. I saw pictures. Very cool.
It's awesome.
Oh, yeah. You love Back to the Future. All right. Let's get into the K2 scale. Let's rate this thing. 2 weeks ago, I should say, last arc, we broke the record. So I think it was the highest rated show in TRB since we've been covering these things. So let's get after it here. One score for all 3 episodes, episodes 10 through 12. Lacey, we're going to kick it off with you. What did you give episodes 10 through 12 of Andor on the K2 scale?
Ladies first. I gave it a 9.5. That is a very big score for me. And by big score, I mean I've given it several times for several different series.
Episode, the first streaming show ever in the history of Star Wars.
I gave
it 10.
No, I gave the last arc a 10, which was my favorite arc. So I had to go a little bit down for this one, but it's still so good. So I gave it a 9.5. It's a great way to end it. It goes right into Rogue One. We actually just watched episode 12 right into Rogue One, and it's like seamless. It's so well done. So yeah, 9.5.
Yeah, not too much for me here. 9.5 as well. High score, one of my highest, of course. But same as you, Lacey. Last arc was a 10, and this was just a tick under it. So 9.5 for me. James, how about you, buddy?
What is the point in coming on this show if this wasn't a 10? 10!
You could have
What do
tanked
you
the whole
want?
thing.
Could never not have it be a 10.
K-2SO. That's right. It's just, I like, you guys were saying you rated the last arc a 10. I probably would have done the same thing. Like
James would have just been doing 10s all season.
I mean, I'll say like the first, like I was kind of reviewing the season because I knew we were going to be talking about it. I was looking at it. I was like, I probably would have rated just really high 9s and 9.5s, probably the first 3 and the second 3. And then leading into the third 3, it's like, that's incredible. And so was the fourth for me. And just, this is one of those things. I've said it before, like, it's not going to be for everybody. It can't be for everybody. It's literally impossible. But it's just like, pick what kind of Star Wars you want and perfect it. And this is like, I don't know how to make this any better. You could add more cameos. You could give $100 bill to everybody who watches it. I don't know. What's a way to make it better? I literally don't know that there is a way. It makes me wonder, like, if you start adding things or putting the things that so-and-so would have wanted, it's probably going to get convoluted. And I watch this thing and I go like, hats off to everybody who worked on this. It's just like the cinematography, the dialogue, the pacing, the sets, and everybody knows all that. It's you can't ask for more. You can't ask for anything better. It's 10.
All right. So that gives us as TRB a 9.7. I mean, these are ridiculous scores.
It really
You just shaded at the end.
Yeah.
Got a little shadow.
Ahsoka season 2 is in a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure for, as of now, the last Disney Plus show that is on the schedule. And then we're going to, obviously, as we always do, check in with the TRB community. And they just ticked above us with a 9.8 on the K2 scale. Just unreal scores for Andor season 2, as James said, well deserved. And then a couple quick comments before we dive into this thing. First was Amanda S, Jedi Empress on Patreon. Amanda, with you, James, said 10. It was cinematically amazing. We watched Rogue One after, and all I could say is this arc was perfect. And then we have Jeddah Rosewater. And then Jeddah said, I really like this arc bringing all together leading into Rogue One. I gave 10 out of 10. However, is there such a rating of 10 plus? I don't know, Jeddah. Is it possible to learn this power? We'll find out. If we work together, we can discover the secret. All right. Let us get into it. We always start things off with our quick shot, which is, warming it up. Our favorite moment from these episodes. We've been trying to stick to one, even though there's 3 episodes, but whether that's a quote, a shot, a moment, a sequence. James, we're going to kick it off with you. Did you have a particular favorite scene or moment or line from episodes 10 through 12 that are yours to say this was the moment?
I think I have a bunch that I'd like to say, and they're all equal. So I'm just going to pick one of them. Probably one that I don't think you guys would mention, but it's Luthen killing Jong, like right at the beginning of that.
Oh, Lonnie.
Yeah. And I think like the thing for me about that was that I was like, all right, this is it, guys. Like, this is the last 3 episodes. Here we go. And I sit down, I watch that conversation happen. I see his side, and I'm just like so invested in the whole thing. And then, like, just the way it ends, like he gets up and he walks away. The little cat walks up and like he's sitting there on the bench and he's dead. And, they made it very clear about his family and his daughter throughout both seasons. And it's just like, it just really made me feel like I better buckle up because this is intense. This is serious. This is when those moments where people said like, oh, it's Rogue One. Well, where were all these characters? Disney's not going to kill them. And then they killed them. You're like, oh my gosh. I have literally no idea how this is going to go. I think I know. I have no idea.
Yeah, that shot also felt very Christopher Nolan to me, like the off-screen death, but then you see the character who did it walking in another spot, like a quick time jump. Very well done. Good pick. And I think it's Young. I don't think it's Jung. I think it's Lonnie Young.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think they often do they refer to him generally as his first name?
Lonnie. I think Luthen does. But then he's like Commander Jung or whatever he was,
Yeah.
However many blue stickers he had on his white shirt. My moment is reminding me a lot of when Cassian sort of his kettle blows in Rogue One on Jin, and he's like, I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, and his face is shaking. It's when he's finally at Yavin, and Luthen's dead, and they're all just like, we don't believe you. This is nonsense. And we as the audience are with him, like we just went on this whole ride with him, like, no, it's real. And he's sitting there saying, like, how dare you say any of this? Luthen did all this for all of you, for all of it. He just lost his mind on all of them. He didn't care who was in that room. That was my favorite moment by far. Cassian just really just blowing the top of his tea kettle and going off on the rebel elite in that room. That's yes, this is real. How dare you question Luthen? I knew him. All that stuff. Really hit me. I love that. Lacey, how about you?
I'm torn between 2, and I know some people, Mike in the chat is mentioning it, the Kendrick Deidre finger point scene on top of her head. It was totally improv, which makes it awesome, which is one of my top moments. But I have to go with Bix at the end with her baby. Like, for me, I was ugly crying through the entire scene. And I like how they took away all the noise and all the music, and it was just like this moment that you were kind of sitting in with her. And she's, telling the baby, shh, it's going to be okay. And then it reminded me very much of Rogue One, where Cassian's like, do you think anybody's listening? And like, there's Bix in the silence, like ready to listen to her son or listen to whatever's around her. And it just kind of summed up what the fight is for. It's for her and other people, for the ability to have their children, to have a good life, to be safe, in a crazy you know, terrible world with the Empire. So that to me was just like a perfect ending. And I love that even though her and Cassian aren't together, she's still happy and she has somewhat a piece of him with her, with their son. And that she made the right choice. And I like that for her. I was happy to see her make it out of this series.
Both of those were
I
on my list, my short list.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It was a very surprising moment, and like, how do you shock your audience for a show that Tony Gilroy the whole time, which he probably did on purpose now in retrospect, and hammered that home. Like, yeah, it's gonna end right into Rogue One. That's how we're gonna end it. We're gonna roll right into Ring of Kafrene, and he's just like in his mind, he's like, wait till those last frames when I just melt everybody, knowing that Cassian's end is a bit more heartbreaking, and it made me think back to. Luthen's monologue in season 1 when he's like, I sacrifice everything for a sunrise I'll never see, and sort of how Cassian took the baton and ran with it after Luthen, because Cassian is a lot like Luthen, just a little more polished and has probably a little more hope in his future. But he sacrificed himself not for a sunrise he will never see, he sacrificed himself for a sun he'll never see. And it's sort of like when I compare those two, it just, I mean, it's such a heavy show and just so much emotion, and the fact that they added that in just made Rogue One that much heavier. So great pick. All right, we do have one more super chat, and then we're going to dive into these episodes and talk all about them.
We do. Thanks, Scott. How's it going, man? He said, so excited to see you back in the seat, James. Keep that key to the base close by and use it often. And he said, woo emoji. What is this called? It's like hang loose.
Hang loose. Yeah.
Woo.
Shaka.
Love it.
Yeah. Right on.
Shaka? What?
That sounds familiar to me.
He'll back me up in the chat. I think isn't that a Hawaiian thing? I think it is. Anyway, we're not here for that. Thank you, Scott. All right, let's get into talking about this. So, episode 10, and these, we're on the shorter end.
Oh, you were right. To kind of vacant said Shaka. You just made that up.
Shocker that I was right. Shocker. Thank you, Mark.
Not very often. So enjoy it. Sit in this moment, John.
It cannot fail.
Cannot. This
Obi-Wan
series has to hit. It has to. Lucasfilm will fail if it does not hit.
I thought when they turned Aunt Beru into Rambo, we really had something, but
Hey, you might have been right. There's no more Disney shows on the schedule after Ahsoka.
Right now.
So maybe it did not. Maybe it had to be successful, and it just wasn't. They're like, all right,
we're going back to the movies.
I love that everything that keeps getting brought up is just John really pounding home that Obi-Wan had to be so good, and they sat in a room for 4
Did it
episodes.
not, though? Did it not have to be good? I'm saying. All right. We're not here to talk Obi-Wan. We're here to talk about Andor. All right. So episode 10, our big moments, obviously, James, you hit it out of the gate with Lonnie and Luthen. And, I mean, maybe we could start there. I mean, this really is Luthen's episode. This is his swan song. He obviously, meets his end pretty soon thereafter at the end of the episode. So let's start with Luthen and his end, but also Lonnie Jung. There we go. I'm saying Jung now. Lonnie Jung, basically
everybody's
saying
Jung in the chat.
Well, it's spelled Jung, but it's pronounced Young.
Oh, tricky.
Mark,
Star
can we
Wars.
get a fact check on that too? Because I don't mind being right all day, baby. Let's do it. All right.
Get outta here.
So Lonnie tells Luthen that he's burned, and you almost like feel bad for Lonnie on a rewatch because you're like, if he just didn't, if he told Luthen in a different way, maybe he gets away. And the fact that they add that he had a wife and a daughter, Gilroy's like, how do I make every single character I kill more tragic or as tragic as possible? And that's how they do it. I thought Lonnie was one of the bigger heroes of the rebellion. He's sitting there working in the belly of the beast this whole time. I mean, you saw that episode where he's helping Clea release the listening device. That's how that guy's been living forever. He's constantly fearful that someone's going to find out what he's got going on, and he still did it because he believed in the cause. And I think he's a very underrated hero of the
In the
rebellion. But
belly of
what
the beast at all times.
at all times. So what do you guys, James, I know you touched on it, but what do you sort of make of where we see Luthen a year after the Gorman stuff when he knew Gorman was going to burn, but burn brightly? It's definitely a different, unhinged version of Luthen who may be seeing the end of his line burning up pretty quick here.
I mean, that's part of that. But before that even gets started, he has that conversation where he says, I think we've used up all the perfect. And they separate for the last time, you know. And as he goes into that conversation, I think he already had this gut feeling that it wasn't going to be perfect. It wasn't going to go well. And that this is where you start cutting ties. This is where you start destroying everything you have in the back. It's yeah, man, it's hard to pick a favorite episode, man, because you watch this and we'll get into like the stuff with Deidre later, but man, it's at the end of the line for him, and it's fascinating television to watch.
Yeah.
Lacey.
Oh, I thought John was going to jump in. I would like the anxiety of being in that position that he's in is just terrifying to me. Like that is my nightmare. Being in a situation where I have to lie all the time and just be like, yeah, everything's cool, and then like keep secrets from everybody. Oh my god, I'd be so bad at that. I could not do it. I would hate it. I would be sweating all the time. I'm surprised he was able to keep his cool. Um, I think Luthen really shines in these episodes and makes the ultimate sacrifice, which we knew he was going to do from like the moment we met him. Um, yeah, he's cool. I'm saying like Lonnie's cool, not Luthen. Luthen is definitely cool. Lonnie's cool in the sense that like what he did for the rebellion is important. But I would say that like he's not my favorite part of these episodes. I'm gonna be honest.
How do you draw the line with someone where you're like, this is it, I'm out because it's getting too close, and the only thing that I have to protect is my family. So I'm done. Like I cannot cross that line. And someone says, if you're not going to cross the line, you're dead.
I think Lonnie must have felt like, oh, he's meeting me out in public. Like he's not going to kill me here. If I give him this, the biggest nugget in the history of news that I can give these people to help them, he's going to take care of me. Like, and I wasn't sure that he was going to kill Lonnie either in that spot. Like he's just sitting on this bench. It's very not Luthen like. And we saw even in the last arc, like Luthen sort of, he's not wearing his wig and he's just sort of being a little more reckless, and he's lost grip on control because the rebellion has exploded, and he doesn't.
I feel like Clea's like reining him in. She's like, "What are you doing?"
Right, and he doesn't know exactly what to do now, but he knows that essentially his objective is successful because the rebellion is spreading widely. It's just they're not even sure what the rebellion is because the Yavin people don't like Luthen and his cell. They don't know what he's all about. That there's issues with Saw, and there's not this cohesion yet. But I saw, and I don't know if you guys have watched Sons of Anarchy or if our audience has, but it's sort of Luthen sort of reminded me of Jax Teller at the very end of Sons of Anarchy, when you're spending your whole time trying to protect the ones you love or protect yourself and protect your cause. But when you're at the end and you have nothing to lose and you have no fear of your end, he's playing with house money. And Luthen is sort of just, yeah, I'll meet you out in the open. I know I'm dying soon. I have to get this information. I'm going to do that now. I'm not going to scout out meeting places like we saw him do at the beginning of the season. Lacey, we talked about it, how he was at the rehearsal dinner for the wedding, asking that cadet where they're being moved to so that he can meet Cassian at the old Steel Guard, like stuff like that. He's done with that. Now it's just like, I'm toast. Let me get what I need to get now and get out of here. It's a different Luthen. It's a reckless Luthen, but it's also a Luthen that really knows he doesn't have anything to protect anymore. Mission accomplished. If he dies, the rebellion is clearly going to live on. So I liked seeing this sort of version of Luthen, but it doesn't last much longer, as we know, because then Daedra comes knocking, and we get that very tense scene where it's sort of like they're playing poker where they both know, but they're not sure if the other one knows 100%. So they're doing that dance, and I thought that was a very
They're both
interesting.
being reckless too. Like she's being reckless
Oh
and
yeah,
he's being reckless.
her
Yeah.
obsession, like if I can get access, I'll be in good graces again. They're sort of both. You're right. They're sort of both at the last drop of a chance at saving themselves. But I don't know that Luthen cares. Daedra does, because that's how the Empire is in this show, and it's perfect juxtaposition there. You have Daedra's like, save myself. I got to save my neck. I got to help. I got to get
I
out
mean,
of this.
Gorman broke her. As soon as Cyril and all that
Yeah.
ended, it was just like you see her spiraling.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
things started breaking. Her reality of like, this is going to be good for us. Like, we're going to do this horrible thing, but then we're going to get all this money and, you know, respect and all this other stuff. And it's going to be good for us. And when everybody starts going like, no, if that's how you think of things, I'm out. Then you start seeing your world shatter and fall apart. And one more quick thing too about that scene. Another reason I liked it so much. I remember I said like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect him to die. All bets are off. It actually works very similarly how they did in Rogue One. You see Cassian meet up with this informant, Tivik. Tivik gives him all this information. And he's like, all right, we're getting out of here. And he's like, I can't get out with my arm. And he's like, don't worry. It's going to be totally fine.
Oh
Blast
my gosh.
him,
Yeah.
you know?
When
Right in
he
the
shot
back.
in the very beginning,
Yeah.
you're like, oh,
And so
okay.
like the movie starts, that's Cassian's introduction to you. And you're like, okay, so I can't trust the character. This person is ruthless. Like, it's almost like he doesn't have a heart. He earns the heart by the end of the movie, obviously. But to see Luthen, I mean, not that we didn't think Luthen was capable, but to start that last arc with something like that, where you're like, oh man, and Luthen's like, there will be hope. We can move you somewhere. It's called Yavin. We're gonna take care of you. Blast, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Cassian takes over for him once he dies. It's like you see that exact transformation.
I think there was probably, I don't think it's a coincidence. So James, I think you're right in that there is a clear purposeful correlation there. And it was sort of like I was saying, like passing the baton and Andor taking over those things he learned from Luthen, where it's sort of like when a pack of animals, it's like the slowest one's going to get eaten by the predator. And Lonnie was compromised, and so was Tivik in that situation in Rogue One. And I think Gilroy probably made sure that that was exactly how Lonnie met his end, was Luthen shooting him after saying like, this is great, you're gonna be all set. Like, I think that's was clearly on purpose to show when we watch Rogue One, he's carrying on things that Luthen taught him still. He hasn't forgotten what Luthen, built him up to be. So good call. But yeah, the chess game, poker match, whatever you want to call it, between Daedra and Luthen, just very suspenseful, because we as the audience both know, but do they know, and how much do they know, and how long can he string it along until he's like, okay, she's got me.
But he knew right away. He says, two things in this room are of questionable authenticity: the knife and me.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
and then
he was giving away his clues, because he knew the second he saw Dedra, he's like, oh, I know why she's here.
And he burned the comms right before she showed up, right? He
started to. Yeah.
He
didn't get all the way done.
Yeah. I was surprised though that he killed himself, or attempted to kill himself. Like, that caught me off guard. It makes total sense, and I completely understand, why he wants to do that. He's no better than Lonnie, and that's how I saw that scene, was like, I'm compromised now. I don't want what I've worked so hard for to die because I want to be alive. And that's the exact opposite of what the Imperials do, which is I have to do like Daedra. I'll do everything I can to save my skin. I'll find you, Axis. I've been obsessed with him for years. I've compromised myself in many ways. Lonnie accessed her files because she was so obsessed with Axis, aka Luthen. So she's there to save herself in the eyes of the Empire. And Luthen's like, I'm going to kill myself to save the rebellion. Those two completely different, selfish and selfless, meeting face to face. And then he tried to kill himself which I guess he tried to just stab himself across his guts. Is that what we're surmising there?
That's what you and I had talked about, because that's very like World War II, like the whole like across the belly.
Yeah. I just that caught me off guard at first. Were you guys shocked at all by that in that moment? Did you think Luthen was going to go, sort of not go that quickly? He obviously lasts till the end of the episode incapacitated.
Yeah, I thought I was shocked that he did it, and then I also thought, oh well, that's it. That it's over. He's gonna fall down, and then he's gonna die, and they're just gonna be like, no. And she's gonna like
Yeah.
pull her hair out. And didn't go that way. As soon as he was like in a hospital bed, I was like, oh no, he was unsuccessful. Like now they have him and he's alive. Like how, like it almost felt like a bummer. Like I almost wish he just like blasted himself instead, because he was unsuccessful in the task. So I mean, it made for a better episode for, Clea, but gosh.
I just knew that people historically had done it in World War II as like an honor kill because they didn't want to get
Oh, totally.
captured by other people. So to me, knowing that Tony Gilroy has talked about how many references he's used or like, you know, history moments, historical stuff that he's thrown into this show as like, hey, this happened. It just makes sense to me that that's what he did is like an honor kill. Like, I don't want to get caught. I don't want to give secrets away. So I'm going to off myself.
Yeah, and I see Megan in the chat wrote seppuku, which I'll admit I had to Google just now.
Oh, it's the
And
Japanese kill across the stomach.
This is
yeah,
the other name for that?
Yeah.
the seppuku. Yeah, you just go like watch. You go like this. You go.
That's what I was saying to you, John, when I was explaining to you the other day. I was like, there's a term for it. I can't think of what the term is.
I didn't know it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I guess it's a samurai thing as well. And we know how much Star Wars was inspired by samurai films. So that's a nice touch there. And Luthen going out in honor. But you're right, James. He did fail at that task. So then Clea has to finish the job, as heartbreaking as that would be for her. But she knows he's probably not going to be around much longer anyway. He's in the hands of the Empire. But what about the flashbacks? I was sort of surprised we got that being this close to the end here, but we really do fill in a lot of the history and understanding of Clay and Luthen. Was essentially he was an Imperial. He was a soldier for the Imperial Army, and he's just a part of one of these. Let's wipe out this village. Let's wipe out these people. And this young girl stows away on his ship, and he realizes I'm not this person, and he makes that choice, and then he takes her on, and it sort of becomes this paper moon thing where she becomes his apprentice in the arts of building this rebellion. So I thought it was cool. It wasn't necessarily my favorite part, but I'm glad that they told it because it adds a little more emotion and weight to his death and Clea going living on.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I remember hearing that, this is early in her career as an actress. And it was like in the first season that she did so well that Tony was like, oh, I'm going to up her role. And so I think this was sort of, I don't want to say an afterthought. That's not the real term, but it's sort of a late stage.
It's a Poe Dameron.
Late stage concept of like, oh, you know what? Like, I think we could really make this relationship stronger if we showcase more of this character and sort of give these two characters more of a backstory there. And to do it, it was like, it ended up kind of being the full episode, but like, half the episode is sort of spent in those flashbacks. And I think they really set the pace. They did a good job at sort of, showing where she is in the moment and how she learned that. Every time they would flash back, it's like, when was the first time she was exposed to this type of a situation? And she was kind of like Slumdog Millionaire in the way that like it was helping her get through this thing that she had to do, this task right now.
Yeah.
So no one could argue she's a Mary Sue because she learned all these things.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
They show you all of the things that it took to get her to the point where she would be a lone agent able to get all the way through and finish that job and get out. Yeah. And it took a toll on her too. We see later in episodes. Yeah.
In a lot of those, as she's like getting older and it's still the flashback, she's actually getting a bit better at the distractions and theft and just being sneaky and clever. Like you see her really getting independent with it and almost creative with it, where at the beginning it was Luthen showing her all those things, and she really had a knack for it. And I think they wanted to show us that for a long while, like she could probably do this on her own. So that gave value to those flashbacks for me. But and just seeing him with like that hairpiece on, and it wasn't like his fake wig thing, it was supposed to be like his hair, and it's like this like military looking buzz cut, was pretty funny too.
Yeah.
It definitely was.
He was de-aged all that too, right?
Yeah, they used the budget they were supposed to use for Hayden and Obi-Wan, and they put it
I was
to
gonna go there if you didn't. But I'm glad
They
you
have to nail this, guys.
did. Yeah.
You have to.
or like when we were watching Indiana Jones and they were doing the, you know, the flashback at the beginning, and they're like, we're just gonna roll with 80-year-old Harrison Ford's voice though. We're just gonna keep that in there. We're gonna go with that. But yeah, so we had the flashbacks, and then I mean, this episode really didn't have too much. It was really Luthen heavy with Clea, of course. So sprinkle in anything else before we move on to episode 11. But the whole thing about Clea doing this whole Mission Impossible Ethan Hunt type thing, where she sneaks in by herself, James Bond, whatever you want to call it, and is able to just all those years of preparation built her up for that moment to make sure she honors Luthen in the best way possible. And she does that all by herself. And when you see Hurt see the cameras or the surveillance footage and realize that he got tricked and defeated by one person, it completely deflated any sort of arrogance and smugness that guy had. And then we'll talk about his just deliciously delightful death a little bit later.
The grandma
which is
part
one of
was
the
my
one of the best
favorite.
deaths in Star Wars. I
Yeah.
absolutely enjoyed that one. But Clea doing her thing, I was too lazy to check. I heard from several people this was her first like big acting gig.
Yes, she graduated
that's what I
acting
had heard.
school and then took this job. Yes.
It's that easy, folks. Just go to acting school, graduate, and you'll be in
Yeah.
Star Wars and absolutely crush it.
Yeah.
So
That's the
I
hope,
thought
right?
Lacey
I
mentioned
loved the
pushing
granny.
grandma.
The
Yeah.
grandma part, I was laughing. And then like in the subtitles, it's like grandma scatting. Like she's like, yeah, whatever. It like basically took place for Star Wars fandom of the let's get you back home. And they're like, I used to be in the Senate. You're like, yeah, okay, grandma, let's get you back to where you belong. Like that's the meme now for Star Wars fans, is like this grandma saying something ridiculous. Like, I used to be a Jedi. It's like, okay, grandma, sure, whatever you say, grandma. It was just very funny, and it's such a great creature, which was also seen. I don't know if it's the same exact one or a similar creature is seen on the beach scene, like where all the people are kind of like on the
There's
like
like
stone benches.
either
and
3 of them, or there's 3 different aliens, and she's one of them. But
Mhm.
yeah, they're sitting out there on the beach. Yeah, I saw that.
They did so much more creature and droid work in this season, which I truly appreciate, because that was my big criticisms of Andor season 1 was like there's not enough world building. Like it just felt not enough aliens.
there were those
not
2
enough.
aliens that
The one big guy.
episode.
One
Yeah.
big guy that was like, you can't go over there, Andor.
Remember like in the first 3 episodes, there's a scene where he's like meeting up with his friend, and he's like, You're listening to this
Yeah.
guy? You know?
Yeah, yeah,
And it's
that
like,
guy.
Oh,
there's
yeah,
him,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
The big guy, yeah.
I'm like, I love this, man.
And I was like, oh, great, cool creature. And then they were like, that's it. That's all you get. We used the whole budget on that.
Yeah.
Luthen's death scene, you know, we can just touch on it lightly, because I mean, it is what it is. It is heavy, heartbreaking is what it is. But I one other thing that I want to mention in this episode is, you know, you have to fill out that hour. I don't know if it's exactly how that is, but I imagine, you know, they have a good amount of time that they want to fill that space with, and they could have given her another corner to go around, or another trap, or another thing she has to get through. But instead, they spent time giving us this like short little small snippet of the hospital owner, you know,
Oh, yeah.
getting his
I saw
hospital
that, yeah.
taken over. And it's so cool, like, because it's another one of these moments where you're like, this is what the Empire does. They just come in and they put this thing on you that you don't have a choice. Like, you can totally be in the right. This is my business. How are you coming in here? We have lives. I can't shut this thing down. This is important. And then the person just says like, oh, you seem suspicious. Should I lock you up? And then he just has to back down. And it's like, you feel for those owners and those citizens, that just can't do anything about this
Right.
because one guy has a white suit on. It's and just good on the story, to add even more to that, to really build out what this story is trying to tell.
Yeah, and small, like, defiances, like, we talked about it with
Yeah.
the last arc, those people that, like, locked the door, that he's like, "Unlock the
Oh,
door." They're
right.
like, "Oh, we don't have a key."
Mhm.
So, like, they're not in the rebellion, but their small act delayed a bigger thing. So it's
Mhm.
a lot of those moments too throughout these seasons, or especially this season,
How
that
I
are
can we
really, really
still
follow the
cool.
rules to break the rules?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still holding out because they give each other a certain look, those two people.
You think they're
Uh,
rebellion?
I think Gilroy likes leaving things sort of like let the audience guess what it is,
Mhm.
but I saw that sort of as the I have friends everywhere, and like Luthen, to show how much Luthen really developed these connections with small people and use those small parts to build this great thing, this line of offense.
I just took
Because
it
they
as
give
2
each other
people that were randomly like,
it
"Yo,
could have
screw
been.
the Empire, like, they
It
suck."
could have been. It could
Like,
have been.
I've
Yeah.
had enough of this, and then it perfectly parallels with what Mon Mothma's saying, where she's like, "We all need to stand up, we all need to do something," and they have the moment where they cut to, like, her driver who seemingly has this moment of recognition of, like, "I'm on the wrong side."
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
took it as, like, these people aren't with the rebellion,
That
but their
guy.
small act helped. Yeah, he just shoots him.
And he's
"Hey, what's
like,
up? I got her."
"Hey,
Shoot.
I found her." Like, it's very Thor and
Um,
Loki, like, "I'm hurt,
it is.
help." Throws him.
But that's how I took it, is like, because it parallels with Mon Mothma's speeches, people throughout this whole season, it's just like small people making choices that help the greater cause, because
Yeah.
that's all you can do is make the right choice at the right time.
Yeah. And it also showed sort of how unorganized the Empire was. They're like, "We never leave this locked." And it's like, "Well, you should,
Yeah.
or
You told me to
or
fix it, so
whatever."
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. But then we move on to episode 11, and Hurt, whatever, is really out to just bury Daedra at this point to make sure that he is in good standing, and that becomes his obsession. But what I really liked about episode 11 was really starting to see the unraveling of all these guys, all these scumbags that we've hated for 2 seasons, especially Partagaz. Like, the moment he finds out that Lonnie Young's dead, his whole demeanor changes for the rest of the series, these last 2 episodes. And then he just has these, it's sort of like grasping for straws, and like these desperate final shots he's taking, which is like putting out the call for them to find Clea now, and she's a public health danger. And he's just like, he's out of tricks at this point. He knows that it's going to fall on him, and you really start to see that guy hit just, and that actor did such a good job too. Like, he was so
His
good to hate.
his power
Um,
got ahead of him too. He, they're in the scene, they're like, "What could we say, to do this?" And he's like, "I don't know, make something up." And he comes up with something off the top of his head. He thinks, "I'm too
right.
powerful to come up with a good story or to figure this situation out." And that story ends up causing problems later because all of his people are out looking for this person and they can't get to what he needs them to do right now. He's like, "Oh, my stupid story that I came up with." It's yeah. This is a fun
They
this fun character arc here at
And
the
they
end.
caused more
yeah.
issue by saying it was a disease, because then
Yeah.
more people got involved. So then they put all the resources into this one thing instead of, um, they cut to Deidre being caught, and then that guy goes and sees her and is like, "Hey, what should I do here?" And like, no one does the straightforward plan. Like, she always cuts through the BS and is always like,
Mhm.
"You should stop thinking this and start thinking this way," which is what got her in that position to begin with. But then ultimately is what helps other people, because she's like, "You should be looking at radios. You shouldn't be looking everywhere else."
Mhm.
So it's interesting to see how this, like, once again, this one voice is the voice of reason over all this other kind of over the top craziness. So
I
you have
liked
the
that she
Empire with
was
all these
right.
resources. Yeah.
It's like she's like, "I'm starting to really see these characters and get them, and I'm getting so close. I caught access. The problem is now that I've done my job, they're throwing me out with the trash."
And she's
Yeah,
been a
it's
part of the system since she was little with the whole kinder care thing, like
Mhm.
the ugh.
that is all she's known. And like when your entire existence is just based on one thing, now that she's losing that, she has nothing. She has no support system. She has nobody to back her up. No one's gonna go and put their neck on the line for her. I mean, it's sort of like, you know, those that we find comical, those moments in the original trilogy when like one of the admirals or captains screw up and Vader chokes him and kills him, and the other guys are
Right.
standing there like, didn't really know him, never
Yeah.
had lunch
In
together, you
comparison
know.
with Clea, where you have a whole team goes to get her, despite
Exactly.
the craziness, the dangerousness, they could die. They go to get her anyway because it's worth it. Then Deidre, which they all say, you're on your own. Bye. Like
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
completely paralleling themselves.
And the rebellion didn't want them to go. Obviously, they were
Yeah.
grounded. You know, he was supposed to go there, and it's sort of like you saw the rebellion almost scarily mimicking the way the Empire operated. We don't trust you. You know, we're not going to let you do that. We don't have time to save these people, stuff like that. And at that point, the rebellion has this sort of fork in the road where it's like, we either become our own tight militarized, you know, selfish thing, or we open this thing up and trust people and actually care about people and build something real out of this. And those are two different, like the way they do the parallels between the Empire and how they operate from an individual standpoint and a collective to how the rebellion does. Because later on, when they are in the safe house with Clea, she's like, leave me here, you know, they don't like us there. They'll kill me at Yavin. And Cassian's like, I'm not leaving here without you. And then you go flip over back to the Imperial side, and it's like, that was Daedra who did that, not me. It was not me. It was not me at all. And it's always like, I just got off the phone with the Emperor, and he said, and they're like, it wasn't me. It wasn't me.
It also
So
explains though the way they fought Cassian to go get her and the way they've kind of been fighting him for these past few episodes is it explains later on with the New Republic, which we see in Ahsoka, where they're fighting what the right choice is against Hera. And then you wonder, like, how did the First Order get into power again? And then you realize, oh, the rebellion, which turns into the New Republic, you know, bites themselves basically. And like,
They sat on it.
yeah, they do the same stuff that they were doing here in Andor. Like it's so beautifully done that you're seeing these kind of annoying instances that you're like, why are you not listening to Cassian? And then you're
Mhm.
like, oh, that's how this happens later on with Kylo Ren and all this other stuff that you're like, how did this happen again? Oh, wait, because they're constantly doubting the truth. They're
yeah,
constantly unsure of when they should make the next move, which ultimately hurts them later and kills more people and causes more issue when you have Leia being like, what are we doing here? And
Mm.
she's like the only voice of reason.
yeah. And she was
Man.
pretty broken by the end. Like when she's just standing there in the rain, she doesn't know what to do with herself. She's just like completely lost, and then Vel
Yeah.
finds her.
Sorry, I
But
meant
we
Leia as in like
Oh, yeah,
Princess
yeah, yeah.
Leia,
Yeah.
but
Not
also
Kalea.
Clea. Yeah, not Clea. I did say Leia, so I just want to make sure that people didn't think I was saying Clea and not Leia. I did mean Leia. So like later on in the timeline, when Leia's like the only voice of reason, you know that it stemmed from Cassian
Oh,
being the
yeah.
voice of reason of being like, what are we doing here?
To we need to get to the scenes where they're like getting into that halfway house and all that. But I do want to mention this big scene with Krennic at the beginning. It is very important to Rogue One because in Rogue One, I think we were all going like, I get it. He's important. We're being introduced to this character right now, but he's a director and he's kind of being shown up by Tarkin. So he's under Tarkin. Okay. And he doesn't seem we're told he's important, but he doesn't seem as important in Rogue One. But to see all of these other Imperials and their importance and how they get, beaten up by their superiors, and then to just have Krennic walk in the room and be like over everybody, it's like, man, like that guy really had power. And so to
Yes.
then
Yeah.
you get to Rogue One and you're like, oh, this really is the culmination of beating the big bad here, even though I know
Yeah.
Tarkin's still around, but
I would say
it's like it adds
the only
to
th
Krennic's role.
the only thing, James, that I think put Krennic in a perspective of power was when he goes to see Vader. and he's summoned to see Vader. It's like, all right, so if he's able to talk to Vader one-on-one at Vader's home, this guy's important. But you make a great point. Like Tarkin made Krennic feel expendable. And then in this show, like you're saying, it's flipped where he's, the improv that everyone's talking about online, he points on her top of her head. He just
Which that shock was real with her, she said. Like she was not expecting that. Yeah.
And the way he just, he's so good. Ben Mendelsohn
over the
is
top,
so good.
Over pronunciates like every syllable of every
He's got
word.
his little minor lisp that I just love. I wish I had it.
His humor hits harder in Rogue One at the beginning with Galen Erso, where he's like, "Oh, my Lyra died," and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Check the house. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Condolences."
Oh, back from the dead.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, so good.
But him interrogating her was great. And that moment, the music is sort of simmering, and he's like, say it. And she's like, the Death Star. And he's like, yes.
Yes. And I think the audience loved it too. They're like, she's dead Death Star.
Although
holy crap. Yeah.
It did remind me of Twilight a little bit, that famous scene with Robert Pattinson where she's like, "You're cold. You're doing this, that." And he's like, say it out loud. She's like, you're a vampire. So I laughed myself at that scene because it is very reminiscent of that now memed scene.
Krennic is just sparkling in the trees of Seattle for no reason. Yeah. Jeez Louise.
Just say it. Vampire.
I thought that scene was great, and he just and it's always in these small rooms with no windows. It's just very claustrophobic. It sort of like makes you feel like you're stuck in there too, and it really makes you feel like you're feeling what she's feeling, which is, I can't get out of here. I am so screwed right now. I thought that was a great scene. I thought Krennic was probably a big part of why I love this season, because they used him a bunch, but again, it was like Tony Gilroy, finger on the pulse, knows how much to use people, when to not use people at all. He recently said if Jyn was in this, it would have been absolutely ridiculous. He didn't use Vader because he thinks writing Vader is boring. Like, Tony Gilroy is very candid about this stuff, but he really seems to know storytelling in this space, even though he hasn't been, he's been here for 10 years now, but knowing when to put your foot on the gas and when to put your foot on the brake. And he used Krennic just enough in this season where he didn't dominate it, because he easily could have, because Ben Mendelsohn rocks and he's just so good.
So good.
Every time he's on screen, it's like every time I watch Aaron Judge step up to the plate, I'm like, stop, we'll play in a
there
second.
It is.
Gotta watch.
James,
I gotta
watch. Yankee reference got in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You've been waiting for it. You've been
John, you mentioned that he knows how to use a character, when to use them perfectly, and the name of your show is K-2S show. He used this character extremely sparingly, but in good taste.
K-2S, yes, and he did release, by the way, through an interview this past week, Tony Gilroy did, that he didn't want Jyn to be a part of the show, because a lot of people were like, "Well, where's Jyn?" And he had said
she wouldn't have been part of it anyway. We already knew that.
He said that they had talked about it at some point, and he said it just would have done a disservice to what Rogue One is to have her a part of it, and it just didn't make sense, and it was taking away what the story is. So I just wanted to get that out there, because I know people have been discussing it, that yes, he acknowledged that Jyn's not in it. I'm glad that she's not. Oh my God, I'm so happy she's not in the show. I didn't think she was needed.
Because Rebel Rising is like, it ends with her at a specific age, and she's like, I'm out. I'm not going back to Saw. And then you see her at the beginning of Rogue One, and she's like, I haven't seen him in a long time, and
like 5 years.
I've been holding my head low. You know what I mean? So to put her into the show, it would be forced, like, and then this is what Jyn was doing right now, and it's like nothing. It's like, I want her to do nothing, because that gives her the ability to then do something when she's been hiding in a hole, the whole time.
Speaking of references, by the way, with the literary stuff, James, you had brought this up a long time ago, which was the comic side story of K2 and Cassian meeting.
Right.
And you had said, I don't know how they're going to handle this, because it's already been discussed, like their meet cute, how they did. Tony Gilroy was on Happy, Sad, Confused with Josh Horowitz, who gets every interview ever, every comment, everything. So well done again, Josh.
Deservedly.
He was at the 92nd Y, and Tony Gilroy said that he had heard that there was a story of these characters meeting, and it annoyed him. He used the word annoyed. He said it annoyed me, and I immediately was like, yeah, I'm not listening to that. I'm doing my own thing. So I was interested to see how you felt because I know you were one of the people that was like, I don't know how they're going to handle this. Are you cool with him being like, I don't care? Because I know I feel that way. And I know John does too, that we're like, good, don't listen to it. Do your own thing. Don't hurt the story because some comic said something.
Yeah, this one is tough because if it was something like Rebels, and he's like, I don't really care that there's this other story that I have to match up with.
Which they did.
Then
They did
I
touch
know,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that he's honoring some of that stuff. But when you're at some point when you're trying to make a decision, you're like, okay, this is how I'm going to handle it. Especially since the whole thing was based on them saying, hey, we have this pitch, Tony, do you want to come in? It's Cassian and K2 go on missions together. And he's like, no, that's bad. I'm not doing that. That doesn't work. You can't do that,
Yeah.
And then later they're like, okay, we're going to go with your idea. And he did an entire season 1 without K2, and he did most of season 2 without K2. And I don't think he did K2 disservice either. So I think like when he's looking at this thing and he's saying, you're going to tell me that this one thing, one time, this one little thing means that I can't write this story like the way that it needs to be written. If it's a big thing, if it's a movie, if it's a TV show or something, I'll honor it. But man, this one little comic that you guys did for fun way back in the day. And, I've seen some other
John
people
said he was a
like,
legend for being like, I'm annoyed. I'm not doing it. I don't care.
yeah. I mean, I think that you can break rules. I'm not going to hold fast on one small thing that happened in canon a long time ago.
Yeah. And Star Wars does that.
And you can have
all
your
the
fun
time.
with it too and write your own version, of how that
Yeah.
still works.
George Lucas did it to himself plenty of times. I mean, we've talked about it so many times. J.W. Rinsler told us the drafts are, pages of the drafts are visible in his books. Like, Leia wasn't Luke's sister until like the second draft of Return of the Jedi. They kissed multiple times. The first one, he was sort of pining over her and her beauty and stuff. And then George is like, you know what? And Kasdan's like, I got an idea. What do you think, George? George's like, I think she should be his sister. It's like, boom, let's do it. So the biggest characters in the history of Star Wars went from a love triangle to just kidding, we're brother and sister, but also we're twins. And also we're both Darth Vader's kids.
Now it's a little weird.
Star Wars does that they did that on like the most egregious of scales. So for people to be, a little bent out of shape, and this is no disrespect to the guy who made the comic. That's an amazing achievement. You wrote a Star Wars published comic and you got paid to do it. That's incredible. The artists, it looks fantastic. But it would have been lunacy if Tony Gilroy had to skirt around that 27-page one issue that 5,000 people bought and read. Like, oh, I really had a good angle for this story and how they can meet. But that book over there,
right?
Can't do it,
Not
guys.
to be a petty bee, but I did enjoy how he said he was annoyed. I loved how frank and honest he was, where he was like, "Yeah, I was annoyed. This sucks. Like, why did they do this? I'm not doing this."
And devil's advocate for him, like, it's almost like if George Lucas didn't sell Star Wars, and then he tells the saga, and then like someone else does Star Wars after Return of the Jedi, and it's a canon story. Like, I'm not even talking EU and stuff because he licensed that stuff out. He never included them canon. But someone tells some sort of story that is part of this canon thing, and they killed Luke Skywalker or something. Like, Lucas would come back if he was doing 7, 8, 9. Lucas would be like, and Luke's back because it's my story. It's like Tony Gilroy has this sense of ownership over this stuff. We'll never know how much he was involved in Rogue One, but not too many people talked about Gareth Edwards during all this discourse and celebration of Rogue One and Andor and all this stuff, and he deserves his credit. He's got the new Jurassic Park movie come out. He's doing very well. He probably has billions of dollars, millions of dollars.
And he did shoot the movie.
Happy for him. Yes.
He was there.
But
yes.
Gilroy has this ownership of these characters, especially that third act. And then he does season 1, and he's just so passionate about telling this good story. It would be absolutely crazy if he did not show how those two met in live action. Yes, bananas. Back like to my point. To my point earlier about how you can have these big moments told that general audiences might see. Now, I did it on a scale of comparing Rogue One to Andor. Now it's James, it's sort of like the Krennic to the people below him to the people above him. You have Andor up here, you have Andor right here, Rogue One right here, Andor right here, and then the comic down here. You're now Andor's the boss and the comic's the little one. And it's like you cannot assume people are going to be reading that comic as much as they're watching Andor. It's way more important for you to include that in the story because more people are watching Andor, more people are going to be satisfied with how that story is told. Plus, cherry on the sundae, Alan Tudyk. So, no brainer. I am not surprised at all they did that. I'm pretty sure when they announced Andor, we said that, or I said that on the show. I'm like, there's no way they're not redoing how they're meeting.
You did say that. You did say that.
There's zero chance they're not revisiting that. And they did, and I knew they would. And I thought it'd be absolutely lunacy if they didn't. So I don't see the controversy, and
I just
no
love how
disrespect to the comic writers at all.
Yeah, of course not. But at the same time, there is, for me, a relief of how honest Tony and the writing team and his brother, Jamie brought it up in the chat, his brother, Dan Gilroy, have been about this process, about working on this series and working with these characters. And they have nothing to hide. And it's so refreshing that every interview I read or watch or podcast I listen to where Tony is speaking about this, he's like, yeah, we thought about using that character and we didn't. Oh yeah, we used, Benjamin Bratt as Bale. We're getting it out of the way. We don't care. Like, he is the character. Like, get over it. And I just love that.
I don't know what happens to Cassian's kid. I just put the baby in there and I didn't write the story.
And he said it made sense. Yeah. He was like, look, as the story went on, we had thought about it. And early on, it makes sense. Like when she's talking to that Force healer and she's talking about how Cassian feels like home and they've been in love since they were little, like it makes sense that would be where this story would progress. Like they're being intimate. So naturally, the chances are that a child is going to come from that. So it just,
it was all about all about the hand.
It's all the hand stuff.
The hand motion.
Did you guys see the thing where he's like, they say he like draws the Rebel logo?
I
was like, I don't know.
They worked with some coordinator or something, or dance person. Yeah.
I saw another interview with Tony Gilroy recently. It might have been with, I don't know who at this point. He's done a billion interviews, but he was saying he's like, yeah, we got our themes in there. We got our things that we're trying to put in as metaphors and messages. But he's like, boy, watching some of these, podcasts or on social media, and he's like, people were coming up with things that we never intended, but are brilliant.
Skeleton Crew, Christopher Ford, we were talking to him. He's like, yeah, we never even, he would watch our show and we'd be like, what about this? He'd be like,
he's like, we didn't intend on that, but that's a great point. Or you guys are way off the mark, or whatever it was. But
we're crazy.
I did see that thing where someone said he drew the Rebel hand. I mean,
and it's
if
nuts
that's
too, because how layered they actually are. They put things in there that people don't catch, and they're like, that's 100% intentional. That it's that blaster, that it's sitting on this table, and
Melchi's
all these
blaster
crazy details.
Yeah.
And to think they put that much effort into it, and then there's still things that people, will put together, and they're like, oh man, we missed that. We didn't even think of that. We had a whole team of people, and that didn't even cross our minds that would be how you would frame it if that was the intent. Yeah.
And if Cassian is standing there in front of Bix, they're alone, they love each other, and his mind is going to, I'm just going to draw this logo on your hand. Then screw that guy, man.
I can tell you right now, if I was standing
it's a little
Bix,
blue butterfly. It'll make sense in the sequel trilogy.
If I was standing in front of Bix, I would not be thinking about any Rebel symbol. That lady is beautiful. Oh my God. Ridiculously good looking.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. All right. So winding down for episode 11,
John's just let me just leave the chat. John's out. John's going to get a tattoo, James. It's going to be a blue butterfly.
Yeah, my lower back.
Lower back.
Yep.
Tattoo.
I loved K2 and the team playing cards.
He's not even acknowledging. He's just moving on.
Yeah, we're all moving on. Yeah. Well, no, I wanted to. I mean, we do have to cruise along. We're at an hour 30. We haven't
Mhm.
talked about the finale yet, but I really liked when they eventually do find her in the safe house, and she breaks the wall and sends out this the break glass in emergency thing, and sends a signal to Willman, and he gets them to go. We have that nice little comedic moment where they're playing poker. K2 thinks they're
Yeah,
cheating. I like that a lot. You build up the
excellent
friendship with
scene.
Melshi there, but when they finally get to her and she's repeating just those key words that she was telling to Luthen, remember these. And that's another theme of the show is remember this, from Nemec to Saw telling
Mhm.
Willman to now her saying, remember
Yeah.
this. And it's
You're
Galen,
here. You're
Kyber,
it's
Gorman.
now. You're fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Which I know you like Saw, James. You must have liked him a lot more after watching this season. At
Oh,
least I
yeah.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. He got better for sure.
Yeah. So I love that scene where she's relaying the info because I as part of the audience knowing Rogue One and stuff, like you feel like we're getting closer. We're getting closer to like them passing this message on. But it's not there yet. It's not all connected there yet, and they still need to convince everybody, which comes in the final episode. But then K2 just killing them all, killing the convoy that is there to kill Clea, and then it
Terminator.
carries over into episode 12. And it's one of those pump your fist cheer moments when he shows up in that hallway and he's like, I cleared a path.
He's
That's,
holding the
that's
guy's dead
He
body up.
is
yes. Oh, that's
the funniest
Kurt. Yeah.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the best deaths because that guy's always been this sort of worm, and he's talking about how he's had all these like coolie drinks at the party, and he's just this like too cool for school, and he thinks he's untouchable, and then he gets in with these troopers, and he's got his
cheating off
armor.
Dedra.
Yeah, he's got his armor on, but he looks like when Michael Dukakis put on an army helmet running against George Bush, when ended the election for him. He just looked ridiculous. So he's there behind these guys, and they're all having a hard time. And then K2 rolls in, and his foot stomping like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park, making the water shake. And then he grabs him and uses him as a human shield. I was like, and he's still alive. Like, oh, it's like South Park. He's like, oh, blah blah.
Mhm.
But such a great death.
It reminded me of
because he was
Deadpool.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit. Nice pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that guy, the actor who played Hurt, had any movies with Blake Lively or anything, but so that death though was like so satisfying because he was such a little scumbag the whole series that I loved seeing him go out that way, and especially K2 doing it.
Yeah, that scene was awesome. And I'm really glad that Melshi got a big important thing. I mean, obviously he was in season 1 too. He was there in the prison and everything, but to keep him going, to keep him moving, show the friendship that he has with this character in Cassian, it adds to Rogue One as well, because I always felt that he got overlooked in that movie. I'm like, this is an important character who's in that iconic picture that, it's like Jin and Cassian and Baze and Chirrut and Bodhi, and they're all like in that, they're on the Yavin base, and it's like this famous picture. It's like right over there. Like, look, he's right there. He's like working on something. And it's like, why doesn't he get the credit? He's one of the crew that went. He's got lines. He's on the things. Melshi, pull, blow it, and he's there, and I think he got overlooked, and he saves Lyanna Halleck. It's
True. Yeah.
but for all these people who are watching the show and they learn that character and they like him and they're like, oh, I like that guy. That guy's cool. And then they watch Rogue One and they're like, he was in that movie the whole time. That's him. He's on the island.
And they
I
nailed
really
the
think
humor
he got
between them. Like it was
his
right.
due.
Like, we've talked about this with all movies over time. Like sometimes they wait too long to put characters back together. The Dumb and Dumber sequel, terrible. Them getting Alan and Diego back together for this 7-8 years later, I thought the humor was just lockstep, right?
Yeah.
Exactly as I remembered it. Even Cassian putting, like, I don't know why I noticed this, but in Rogue One, I'm watching when he gets into his chair on the right, K2's on the left. He puts his seatbelt on, the two straps, the same exact way in Andor as he does in Rogue One. I'm like, those little tiny details of how somebody, because I put my seatbelt on the same way I do every day probably, and the fact that they knew, like, this is how he did it, we have to go back and make sure we get that right, lets you know
This
how
is his
much
shit.
they
This is
were
his routine.
how they were dialed into every little nuanced detail of these characters, and the humor more than anything between the two and their banter was just so good to see again, and it felt the same. It didn't feel like it was a tribute or
Or
anything.
forced, yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't too jokey. K2, like Alan Tudyk's humor and how he delivered those lines. I don't know if there was much improv or whatever, but just on point. That even how they did, sometimes with certain sounds and stuff, like Darth Vader sounded a little off in Rogue One because of James Earl Jones' age. Alan Tudyk's not an
Boarding party.
a mining disaster. Yeah, yeah.
Tarkin
But
does look better though. Now that I've seen it recently, it looks
yeah,
better than what I initially
you know who
thought.
doesn't?
Leia.
Yeah,
She
the
looks
only
I've
okay.
part.
always said the opposite. I
She looks
always think
fine.
Leia
Yeah, but
looks
James, you hate the
great.
very end of Solo because of the extra little shot.
No,
I
the note. He hates the note, the extra note.
yeah, I always thought they should never have showed Leia's face because it doesn't look like Carrie Fisher to me. They did the best they could,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah.
was right. Yeah, you said that. I always thought that she does so little. She turns around and says like one line, and I'm like, well, they didn't have to do anything crazy, and so the believability is there for me. Whereas Tarkin's like walking around and saying all these lines and stuff, and I'm like, I see that this is
Not him.
yeah, it's not him. It's a recreation, and you know, the other I always kind of had this thought, this just general theory. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think like most people don't really know Tarkin, but they know Carrie Fisher. And so when they watch the movie, they're like, that guy's fake. They're like, oh, I kind of remember from the first movie, but that looks really good. But they can't like really picture the actor as much. But then you see Carrie Fisher and you're like, well, I know that's not true. You know what I mean? I
I
know
think
she
they
does.
could have
That's
not
not.
shown her and just he handed it to her and then they take off and they didn't
It
have
probably
to.
would have been fine. Yeah, I'm just talking about
Yeah.
the visual effects of it. I think she
Mhm.
looks fine. I don't really notice anything wrong at all.
She looks okay.
And Tarkin looks great for the time. I'm just saying I see that it's
I wonder
not
if they're gonna
him.
go back and redo that.
I don't know why more people don't do that. Like they can go in and they can turn Alden into Harrison Ford, you know what I mean? And yet they can't, like, no one has gone back to try to fix like Krennic, or they try to make something from the prequels look a little bit better. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, come on, guys, you can just layer your effects on top of what's already there and make a better movie, or surprise some people.
I mean, if it was George Lucas, he probably would. But
Right.
that he was so obsessed with the advancement of technology. I don't know if that's how their passions are today. I have no problem with it. I like the Tarkin thing more than the Leia thing, and you and I have argued about that till the cows come home. But
Yeah. I mean, the scenes are fine. Both of them. I love
yeah,
them, but
yeah.
just the visual.
All right, so episode 11, that's essentially what happens, and it spills right into the finale, which leads to, like I said, K2 clearing house, them getting out of there, but not without Clea getting or hit by that flashbang. And I wasn't sure if she was going to live or not. Did you guys feel that way, or did you feel like
She
no,
got
she's
hit
going to
hard
make it?
with that.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna make it just because they'd killed so many people before her that I was like, are they really
They're
gonna go
running
for
out.
this?
Yeah. Yeah. James is
I
thinking
don't know
about
what
it.
I thought at the moment when it happened. I thought, oh, they all got stunned. How are they all gonna get out of there? But I wasn't thinking like, oh, that character's probably dead.
Yeah, true. There was that really tense moment of them trying to get back to Yavin, and the comms were busted, so they couldn't, report like it's us, and there was like talks of the rebels saying shoot it down and stuff like that, and they're not going to shoot it down because of who's in the ship.
Right.
They're going to be okay, but it still felt stressful. So they did such a good job of telling us a story of characters whose fates we already know, and still making us nervous for them. And then, of course, they add the humor of K2 looking out the window and waving like.
Yeah.
It adds to the panic of the rebellion. It goes to show like how they can clearly recognize that this is the ship coming in, and yet they're like, we can't take the risk, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, these people, like, everything is scrutinized so heavily.
Even
Draven's
seeing
like breathing down his neck over everything that he does.
Yeah, and even seeing Clea in her state, they were very hesitant to take care of her. And
Mhm.
They
then
were.
they're just like, "All right, fine, take her to sick bay," like, begrudgingly. And it's like I said, there's that fine line of, like, we don't wanna be like the people we're trying to destroy here. We can't let our fear, like that big Star Wars theme, allow us to not help these people. So you gotta let go, and you gotta have some blind faith a bit there, because I'm sure they've heard everything they wanted to hear about the bad things Luthen did. And Cassian brought that up. He's like, "I knew Luthen the good and the bad." And he's like, "I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, he did everything for this rebellion. You would not be here if it wasn't for Luthen." And that's why that
Yeah.
was my favorite
He
moment
died for
of these
this.
episodes. Yeah, exactly. And
This is how important it is. He doesn't just die lightly, He
right.
wouldn't give himself up. He wouldn't say, this is the last thing this is so important. I have to risk my own life. And if I die, I die, but it has to get out. Yeah.
And it was really impactful when he was really just laying into them, because we've seen Cassian since he was 6 years old now, struggling and doing all these things for a thing he wasn't sure he wanted to be a part of for a while. And then once he started losing his family members, and then Brasso, I feel like was like the straw on the camel's back. He's like, "I'm all in." And then it took Bix leaving for him to be like, "Now I'm fully in all the way until the end." It's like we saw all of his struggles, Narkina, Aldani, all of it for 2 years, hours and hours, maybe the most hours we've seen a Star Wars character ever. And then we get in front of these people who we didn't see much from. It's Radis, it's Pomlo, it's even Bale, and they're like, "No, we don't believe you."
Who
And it's
are
like
we
we're
talking about here?
yeah, I'm sitting there, and it's such a good tactic of storytelling, because we're right there with Cassie, and like, no, we saw it. Like, no, he did do all those things. Like, it makes
Mhm.
you be on his side so badly. And that's why I love that scene so much, because he really did get a bit unhinged and angry and started screaming at them like, "Enough. I am doing what I need to do here." And he pushed so hard that eventually the evidence mounted up so heavily that they're like, "All right, go to Kafrene. Fine.
Mhm.
You're not punished anymore. You can go to Kafrene and take K2 with you." I just thought that was a really powerful scene for Cassian that has flied under the radar a bit, because I haven't seen too many people talking about that. I mean, there's so much dialogue and so many great quotes and
Yeah.
monologues in this, but that moment for Diego, for me, might be my favorite moment of him. It could be recency bias. Out of all of his scenes as a character, I just really loved all of that. But it was also cool seeing the rebellion this close. I mean, weeks, days, I don't know, away from Luke Skywalker blowing up this super weapon they've been just learning about. Them still sitting there saying, "No, we don't believe you." And even in Rogue One, they're like,
Yeah.
"No, yeah,
Hmm.
we're not
Yeah.
doing this."
That's
It's
the
like, when will
interesting
you
thing about
people get on board?
That's the interesting thing about Rogue One is when we watch the movie, we're like, we don't know who any of these leaders of the rebellion are. I mean, we know Bale, we know Mon, but like most of these people sitting around the council are listening to Jin and saying, like, we can't risk what this random girl is saying.
Yeah.
Cassian wasn't even in that meeting, which is interesting. And it felt like everybody in the room was, but he wasn't
He was
there.
rallying. He was all in. Remember, he was rallying his guys
I
to.
mean, I know that's what happened like after the thing, but I didn't know if it was like 5 minutes after the thing. He's like, oh, that didn't go well. Guys, are we going or not? We're going. Okay. But my point is, like, when we watch that scene, we're like, we don't know who these leaders of the rebellion really are. We're sort of being introduced to them as well as Cassian. One thing this show did for me, though, is it kind of made me wonder, like, why isn't Cassian a higher authority at this point? Is it just because he's so reckless and he's like, he's in, he's out, he's wishy-washy about stuff, he's reliable, but he's not giving it his all or something? Maybe because of Bix, maybe he had opportunities early on to move up in the hierarchy of the rebellion and just chose not to. because like it's weird because like if this thing really was built on Luthen, you would think that Luthen's protege, if you will, like in Cassian, would be higher up in this thing, but he's reporting to all these people. But we're like, what have you done for the rebellion? You know, we don't know those stories, and I'm sure they've done very courageous things. But when you're standing in the argument and when you're in that room, and John, to your point, like we've watched Cassian do all this stuff, and he's like, how are you arguing with me right now? Like, how do you not even know who this person is? You know him by name. You don't know who built the thing that you're giving up everything to join. You know, it's nuts. It just makes me wonder, like, what, makes me wonder, what are the dynamics of the rebellion? How did the people get into power? How is Bail sacrificing more than Cassian? Seems like Cassian's doing a lot of the work, and Bail's just being brought in because he was of high power here, and as he moves over, he's going to keep his power. But
Bail didn't give the speech. Mon Mothma did.
How did he get out of the Senate? He's like, I'm letting this person talk on my behalf, and she's clearly a conspirator. And
how about Bail's team that's supposed to help her get out of there were compromised? They were on the wrong side. Like Bail. Damn, Bail kind of sucks, man. Oh.
Yeah,
he got out of the Jedi temple too. He just he bailed there too.
Oh, I like that. He bailed there. All right.
I said he did not bail.
He said he did not bail.
And then he got to say the "May the Force be with you" line. Can you believe that?
Which Benjamin Bratt was pumped about in an interview.
I like that they gave him a good dynamic with Cassian. Like, he's a likable character in general, but they made him out to be someone who, like, not everybody's going to get along with everybody. And, K2 being like, the guy that doesn't like you is here, or you don't like is here. I just think that's so good.
Funny.
Yeah,
that was really
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write a one-shot comic, and it's going to be about that this was actually fake Bail. And then Jimmy Smith shows up and fights him to death and kills him, and he's like, I'm actually Bail Organa.
He's like,
go watch
Sabe,
he's like,
or whatever.
He's like, guys, go watch the Obi-Wan series. I'm Obi-Wan. I'm Bail Organa.
Bold question here. Is there any canon proof that Bail died on
Alderaan?
Alderaan. Yeah, I'm like blanking on that. I'm like, what?
I think it's assumed.
Is this a Mace Windu thing? Are we doing a Mace Windu thing right now, James?
I'm just saying. I was thinking about it recently, and I was like, so how does this character end up? Oh, well, he was on Alderaan, and I was like, we never see it. I would assume he was on Yavin, or that wasn't. Oh, that would be the same time. Yeah. I would assume he would be at Yavin when Alderaan got blown up.
So Leia's parents had enough of her business, so they faked their own deaths.
She says they're innocent people. She doesn't say like, my mom and dad are there.
Yeah, she just says there's people there. Yeah,
I was like, there's no canon proof that he's dead, right?
Well, yeah. So Luke, like we joked about this too in the past. Like Luke is devastated about this man he knew for 2 days, and she's consoling him when her whole family, planet, parents, and everything was murdered right in front of her.
Did you guys see the thing where they're like, after watching all of Andor and Rogue One, this scene at the end of A New Hope is pretty wild. They're like giving Han a medal and a big ceremony and all this. It's like when you really think about like, you did it, guy. And
Melchi's standing there somewhere, and he's like, this is total BS. What is this?
Yeah. Well, I think Melchi's dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh, Melchi's dead. Yeah.
Vel's be
there. Vel's there.
Yeah.
Clay is there. Like, are you kidding me? Why are those droids up there?
Yeah, exactly.
Beeping and bumping around.
We didn't even get one.
I just think the one guy did something really awesome, but nobody else is getting medals.
Vel's like, my girlfriend died. My girlfriend's dead. I don't talk to my niece anymore. And Clay is sitting there like, my life partner, my mentor died for this. And then the R2-D2 is over there all shiny, like beep boop bopping around. Like she's like all pissed off as these guys are getting these medals. I get it.
All right, what else do we want to say about this third episode?
Everyone's saying, by the way, that Bail does say in Rogue One that he's heading back to Alderaan. Like they make it very clear.
And he says in this show, he's
Sure.
like, if I'm gonna fight the Empire, I'm gonna go down swinging. It's like, I hope you were shadow boxing at your chateau, because
He was definitely not swinging. He was definitely like,
was not swinging
"Hello,
anything.
friends."
What's on TV today? Bang. Gone. What else did we talk about in this episode? I mean, we covered pretty much everything. James, did you notice, unless you saw it online, that halfway through the credits, they do bring in the traditional main theme end credits? Yeah, that's a good touch. I really like that.
Oh, Michelle, I do want to mention this. Michelle in the comments is saying Bale is with his wife and they watched together in Princess of Alderaan by Claudia Gray. He knew it was coming.
Oh, like a Hosnian Prime scenario?
I think so, yeah.
Bale
like
is
Krennic
with
looking
his
up and
wife
getting shot in the eyeball by
watched
Tarkin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
I gotta go back and read that.
I loved this call with Saul. Better Saul call. Better call Saul. Anyway, he's on the
We're breaking down here. What?
Better call Saul.
We're Breaking Bad right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
So he's up. They do the hologram, and they have that. She has that conversation with Mon, and she's like,
"Oh, you're
getting
so
angry."
I just got
and
the
he's
Saul
like,
comment.
they're like, "We know you're on Jeddah," and he's like, "You don't know where I am. You don't know anything. I wish you were as good at fighting as you are at lying."
And they're like, "Come on, guy." Like
I love that. I love that he was unhinged in Rogue One, and people were like, "Whoa, a little overacting there, overdid it." That character annoyed me. So they backed him off in Rebels and other things that he shows up in. They like chill him out. He talks a little bit more normal or whatever.
But Tony was like,
Andor's
"No,
like,
not.
no, that's not the character, guys. He's supposed to be like that." Forrest Whitaker did it right the first
He's
time.
wearing a t-shirt that says "I went to Jeddah and all I got was this t-shirt." And he's like, "I'm not on Jeddah. What are you talking about?"
Right? Yeah. It's like, no, there's a sign behind you that says "Welcome to Jeddah."
Wait, so his oxygen mask thing, was that Rhino the whole time?
Yeah. Is this the first you're talking about it?
Well, no, but I mean, in Rogue One, I thought that he had lung damage or something, so he was using air or whatever.
Oxygen,
but he's just getting ripped the whole time.
So Rebels tried to answer this, and it sort of got shifted back. So he was stuck on Geonosis after the genocide of the people, and they killed them with a gas. So he was stuck on Geonosis.
That's right. Yeah.
The thought was that he had like breathing damages because he was in the area for a long time, well after the fact. But when you're stranded on a planet, you're breathing those gases in. That if long term, he long COVID all the way to when he needed the respirator or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this show sort of rewrote that story and just kind of said like, yeah, maybe, but like it was really this is what he's breathing. This is what he's doing. And watching Rogue One again, he's like, and it like snaps back. They make a big thing out of like his like respirator snapping back. Oh God.
Yeah.
Poor God. I forgot how funny that scene is where he's like, "No, I'm not." And they're like, "Yes, you are."
Right.
We have multiple
There's literally a sign like behind him. He's like, "There's no sign behind me."
Hi guys. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's doing.
I don't know why, but all of a sudden you bring that up, like I'm like laughing to myself because it's so ridiculous that they're like, "We know where you are," and he's like, "No, what?
You're wearing a hat right now." "No, I'm not." It's like, and you're willing to fight a cowboy hat. Like,
it's so stupid. Yeah. They're like, "Can you please not mess us up?"
I love it though. It's like
I did too.
He's panicked and he's losing his mind. And what does somebody do? What does they always say, like, what does a jackal do when you back him in a corner, right? It's like he doesn't know what to say. You don't know me. You don't know what I'm doing. You don't know where I am, And it's like they do, but
Mon Mothma's just like, "Can you please just stop ruining this for us?"
What is it? You don't jackal backed into a corner or something? There's a phrase.
No,
there.
it's a bird in the hand is worth two in the saw.
That's the one. You're right.
Yeah, right. That's
What?
it. Yeah.
These phrases.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about was Daedra in Narkina, but maybe not Narkina 5, but I thought that was a nice touch. I would have liked to have seen her die, maybe, but like to Lacey's point,
No, that's worse. She's been eaten by her own system, and not only that, she's
it is definitely worse.
Yeah.
sit and think through her whole process and build the Death Star.
Or maybe she's
I
building the
think-
second Death Star.
Or
Yeah.
the second one, or Star Killer at this point, if we're really on this trend.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I like that she went to the prison. It was sort of a roundabout way. They didn't need to do it, but that could have been an interesting Kino Loy cameo. You know, if they wanted to tie that in. But I think
I thought he was going to be.
I
in
thought
this
he was going to be
season.
in it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and he wasn't.
No.
They made some comments saying he was coming back like a year ago.
It
Maybe
seems
something.
It seems like maybe this was a women's prison because there were no women in 5.
Yeah, there were only dudes there. Yeah.
Right. And I couldn't really I didn't really take a look or think about it in the moment to go and look to see
How
if everything
forward
else
thinking
was
by
wrong.
the Empire.
I know, yeah. But it's true. Yeah. John, you have to give them props.
Look, we commit galactic planetary genocide, but we draw the line at women and men being in the same prison. We will
But
not
then in
do
Rogue
that.
One,
Yeah.
I think Jyn was in a transport with dudes, but then her cell, she was with a woman, I think.
Also, more importantly,
well, she was with
we got to
some
find out.
alien.
We got to find out what Mike's talking about here.
Oh my
because that's
God.
very important.
John is right again.
John is right again. Again.
Still laughing at the fact that he's like, I am not on Jeddah. I pinky promise I am not here. And they're like,
You have no idea where I am.
That's so dumb. But it's like hilarious at the same time. And when I watched it, I didn't initially think, I remember being like, that's interesting. And now you bring it up. It's just like, now it's in my head as like an office skit of Michael Scott being like, I'm not here. What are you talking about? What?
I know. And Marmotha's like on the table, like looking at him, like Saw.
Like, how do you even deny that? You're like, no, what?
Stop. We know you're on Jeddah.
They're like, we're literally calling to you via Jeddah hotline.
Yeah. You called us, and the callback number says 555 Jeddah.
Two Tubes is like FaceTiming like Palmo.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, we're here. We're on Jeddah. All right. Well, I don't know if there's anything else in the episode we need to get into. Partagaz shooting himself after hearing Nemec's manifesto broadcast.
Right.
I thought that was a nice touch because Nemec gets to, continue to impact the Empire. And I love that. I forgot that was recorded. So he's listening. I thought it was a voiceover at first. And I'm like, no, that's actually, he's listening to this.
It
And then
was
he
a
does the
voiceover, right?
No, because
he's
he stopped.
playing a button. He presses a
stopped
button. Yeah, they broadcast it.
Nemec recorded it, and it was broadcast out, and then it was playing throughout the galaxy, and that's when Partagaz knew he was done. And he's I need some moments to collect my thoughts because he's probably going to get arrested and treated the same way that Daedra is, Narkina 5 of the old men's prison, all that, thanks to our progressive empire. But then he shoots himself with a DL-looking blaster, and I love that the guy's standing there and he knew what was going to happen, and the stormtroopers go to move, and he just
like
puts
this.
his hand up like,
Yeah.
no.
Just let him do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it happen.
Died just like Hitler, like a little worm in his little hole.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Shawshank Redemption as well.
Oh yeah, the warden.
Yep, because it's like he looks out the window and he knows his time is up, and so he just he does everything, like straightens his tie, and then you cut to outside of the building and you hear the gunshot and you're like, oh,
that's it.
Dang. Like imagine being in that situation. I mean, I'm not saying good people, But I'm saying, like, imagine when you're in that moment and you're like,
Well, because you feel
well,
that
this is
desperate.
it.
Yeah, nothing is gonna come of this. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
Yep.
dark, dark place.
it
I
is a
speaking
dark.
of
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of guns, I saw someone point out that the gun that Cassian has in Rogue One is Bix's
hmm
from season 2, which I love that detail, the one that he shoots Krennic with.
That was
And
confirmed
Jin
by a prop person, a
Yeah.
prop
and
designer for the
Jin's
show.
was somebody's from Aldani or something too. I don't remember whose, but the one
Uh,
she had
The
when
Melchi one.
she had Melchi's
Mhm.
Yeah, Cassian gives the gun to Melshi at the end when they break out of prison and
break
they're
out of
on
the
the
prison.
beach. And then when Vel goes over and he goes, "Who's this gun?" Melshi goes, "That one's mine." So okay, so
That's
it's
the
the
one that
same
Jin
gun.
gets. Yeah.
And then later, it's like she says she picked it up off of a table, so it was Melshi's gun.
That she
Oh,
took.
she just took Melchi's gun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love
And
that
K2's
detail.
like, why does she get a blaster? It makes all those moments even better. It's really cool. But yeah, then we get Krennic looking at his Death Star before realizing Tarkin was about to come in and be like, "This is mine now." So his one,
This is mine.
yeah, just take that's mine now. That's it, pal. And then we get the final moments on Mina Rao where everyone was always worried about B2 emo, and it is a
He
little
has a
sad that
friend.
he's never gonna see Cassian again, and he's always like, "Where's Cassian? Where's Cassian?" But that's
Where's
how it goes.
Cassian?
Yeah, and that's it. So
He does have a droid friend though, which made me happy.
yeah, very true.
This,
And
I
everyone
will
there
say this
seems happy
season,
too. So
this last episode had, as I was walking through it again, I was like, there's a lot of talking scenes and it's important, but it really is like Vel and Mothma together, and then Andor and Clea together, and then Vel and Andor together. And then, it just kind of was like these people and how they relate, wrap it up. These people and how they relate, wrap it up. These people
right.
and how they relate. So there was a lot of that. And I was like, man, I kind of didn't realize the last episode had so much talking and just kind of regrouping scenes, but it did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Andor
Perrin
and
did
Drebin.
get Perrin
Andor and
got with
Rhea.
Lita's mother-in-law. Gotta bring that up. They have that little shot of Perrin in the car getting
Right.
drunk.
And he's still just boozing it up, just living his
Did
life,
you
not caring. Yeah.
did you see something with that scene about there was like unused stories that they that's like a leftover from unused stories or something?
I didn't see that. No.
I just saw it as like he's banging the woman that like he had accused Mon of getting with that Tay guy. And then he ends up getting with
Take Homa. Yeah.
the other woman.
By the
There
way,
was
cheers to us for remembering all these characters' names. It's like reading a
yeah,
phone
I
book.
I'm really
don't.
Yeah.
There's a couple like I'm sitting here I'm like, so who was it was it was the guy who she was making the deal with and he wanted more money, right? And then he ended up
Take
getting
Homa,
killed
yeah.
off. That
Take
was
Homa.
his wife, right? So I think
No,
No.
no.
that was Lita's husband's, the girl,
So-
her daughter, the husband's mom. So the mother-in-law of the marriage.
So the two
arranged
parents
marriage.
of the two kids that got married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget where I saw it, but they were saying something along the lines of there was
Skolden.
this
Thank you,
story
chat.
plot, yeah, Skolden, where he was like kind of being a little bit more rebellious, and so was Mon. So there was like this scene where like the other people who were more Empire related,
Yeah.
her husband and his wife, they were like getting along at the party, and it was like early in the show or early in the season or something like that, and it was going to set that up because when those other people go off and they do other things, yeah, I can't remember how it all played out, but
I am going. I know we have a couple of super chats, and then I promised I'll pick a few favorite moments, and then we'll probably get out of here because what a long one. 2
Yeah.
hours. So
that's my
but 100
fault.
people, 100 people still watching. That means a lot to talk about. But Lacey, why don't we get to those super chats?
So first up is David Ford again. What up, man? He said an orange is the new black show about Deidre. I'm good, man. I don't need that. She sucks. Next up is David again. He said, Mishima, a life in 4 chapters from Uncle George. I'm not sure what that means. Am I being dumb right now?
I love that we never saw Oh wait, no. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know. Who are you?
Cyril's uncle.
Oh, Harlow.
Harlow?
We never
Uncle
saw.
Harlow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never
Yeah.
saw it. That's what I thought when I saw Uncle George.
Wait, that's
But
fake
yeah.
Bale. Benjamin Bratt is Uncle Harlow, pretending to be Bail
Yep.
Organa. Yeah.
David Probus is up next. What up, man? He said it's a full TRB. James Baney in the base. Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, David.
And last but not least is the kind of vacants who said, "Aloha, James. Did anyone tell you guys you have great chemistry?" Wink face.
Nope.
Never heard that before.
Never
I do.
mentioned.
I do want to make some comments too, real quick, because people are watching on Instagram as well, and it's hard. I can't bring up their comments, so I'm just gonna read a couple of them because there are a couple in here. From Jennifer said, "Oh my God, just joining. James, you're the guest," and she wrote in all caps. And then we have Admiral Blue 1229, which I believe that's Christian, said, "Oh my God, I'm glad I stopped by really quick. The gang's all here. Love you guys." And then Colin 3219 said, "Oh my God, you guys are all together again."
Woohoo!
We are
On Jeddah.
We are.
We're not on Jeddah. We're on
Yeah.
Jeddah.
It's funny because when we started talking to James about doing this, it was around Celebration, and some of the TRB faithful who were in Japan, I was like, we haven't seen these people since James left. They're probably going to ask, like, is there more to the story or anything? And a lot of people asked, and we're just sitting there. I'm sitting there like, just wait. Just wait. Let it go. But
We have one more.
Oh, sorry.
Michael Moore, what up? Thank you so much for the super chat. He said, "I love seeing you guys together again, even if it is just for one episode."
That's
if you
it.
guys want to see James come back, right in the chat that you want James to come back, maybe you can convince him.
And join TRB on Patreon at patreon.com/TRB podcast. No,
if you donate this much.
Yeah. Well, together we'll find Saw. But we had a few comments about favorite moments that I wanted to get to. 2 from Blue Sky, 2 from X. So we have Valerie. Love Valerie. Saw her in Japan. Valerie at Valerie Gogo on Blue Sky said, "So hard to choose a favorite, but I loved hearing Nemec's manifesto again. It was heartbreaking and inspiring at the same time." And at Lucasfilm Collector on Blue Sky, "You're too late. The rebellion isn't here anymore. It's flown away. It's everywhere. That's a whole galaxy out there waiting to disgust you." Great line. Great moment.
Oh, yeah.
And then we have Master Bearer Jedi on X. "The entire sequence with Cassian extracting Mon." Me too, man. I was on the edge of my seat that whole time. But emotionally, it has to be Saw burning Willman's hesitation away. My skin was crackling afterwards. "Let it in, boy. That's freedom calling." I mean, that is really good. And then we have Kendall. Galactic Curator on X. Kendall said, "My favorite line of all is when Luthen and Daedra are talking in the shop just before she reveals she knows all. She asks Luthen if a dagger he shows her is real, and he says, quote, 'We still don't know.' The tension mounts." And then, James, you had pointed that out a bit earlier. So thank you all for those comments. And
2
thank you
items
for all the
in
super
this room are
chats.
of questionable authenticity.
So good. And thank you to everybody in the
Saw's
chat.
like, "It's not me."
Yeah.
Certainly not.
They turn, it's Kenan Thompson in Saw Gerrera outfit.
Did he do that on SNL?
He did it when Rogue One came out.
Yes. He did
Okay. I was like, that sounds like that actually happened.
Yeah. I think Felicity Jones was
hosting, probably.
Yeah.
Kenan Thompson's been on SNL since the Phantom Menace came out, I think. So he's
What's
been around
crazy is to say that he was on the show since Rogue One is a lot.
Yeah.
And he had been on a long time before that.
He's like, Daryl Hammond's got nothing on me. I think he's still on the show.
He is.
Yeah.
And we're still on this show 2 hours later. So how about that? But yeah, let's start wrapping it up. Thank you to everybody in the live chat, showing James the love. If you do want James back, let us know on social media. Let us know on the base. Let James know. And maybe James will be back. It's up to you. It's not up to us. James is going to decide this based upon you. So even if he doesn't want to come back, it's up to you guys. So
yeah,
we'll
like
see
you
what
guys
say.
determine. It's like American Idol. Call in.
Yeah.
All right, and thanks to everybody for listening and subscribing and being a part of TRB. Make sure you listen to the Resistance broadcast and follow us on your favorite podcast app, whether that's Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever, and our channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts for the video version, Nerdy and Nice. And just a reminder, no Nerdy and Nice next week. We're going to do a recap of our San Francisco trip on Monday, which should be a good one. But then for us, Johnny Hoey for me on Blue Sky and a little bit on X. And I will see you all on Monday with another episode of TRB. Lacey, where can people find you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gillerin and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gillerin.
All right. And James, where can people find you and shower you with all the love that you have come back to talk with us on Andor?
I mean, to be honest, I don't know if you guys noticed, I really don't go much on social media. I'm all the same places at Meyer Trunks on both X and Instagram. I am
You
still
gotta get on
in
that Blue Sky,
the,
dude.
oh yeah, that too. I think I
It's a
did
Dragon Ball
something.
reference, by the way, for anybody that didn't know.
Oh, Meyer Trunks, yeah.
Hmm.
And I was gonna say, oh, I'm also still in the base. So if anybody, ever does want to reach out and ask me a question or get my opinion on something Star Wars, I am there, I'll get the message, so let me know.
Right on. And more comments coming in. James, you'll have to read those after.
Yeah.
After you have
They
a happy
don't
cry.
stop.
Yeah.
I do like that. I just wanted to mention too that there was this, like, how they go. It's like it's Tuesday and there's no new Andor and it's so sad or whatever. But there is Rogue One, and Rogue One's enough to fill up 3 episodes. And I thought, so Rogue One kind of is episode 13, 14, and 15. And it reminded me of how we split up Solo into like 6 episodes. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yep.
And I was
We
like,
did.
you could go all the way from the beginning to when Jeddah blows up and call that episode The Ancient City. And then you go from the next point.
Don't pretend you're improving this right now.
I'm not.
You wrote this down.
No.
All right, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but I liked it. And then you go from that right after that scene all the way up till Melshi presses the button. They go light it up and they press the button. That's where they cut. That episode is called Rogue One. And then you have the final battle on Scarif, and that episode is called Someone's Out There.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Could you imagine if this season ended with those 3 episodes, though, like the battle on Scarif and Darth Vader and everything? People would have been like, greatest series ever.
Yeah. Yep. But we have Rogue One, and it's great. It's great. All right, that'll do it for us, James. I'm really good to have you back, man. I knew I knew
Thanks
you
for
said
having
you were a little nervous earlier on, but I feel like once we hit go, it was like the old times. So it was really cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to have you back. We'll have to hang out again soon.
Yeah, let me know.
But yeah, thank you to everybody. Thank you to all our patrons. All the however you support TRB, it means a great deal.
I didn't get to say anything, James. I'm really happy you're back too.
Oh, thank you, Lacey.
Of course. John gets into this flow and I get worried about interrupting him.
I understand.
He's going through it. He's like, "Thanks, James. You're the best, James." I'm like, crap,
well, why don't
where do I say something?
800 effing episodes later, why don't you close the show? Why don't you do that?
I can't
follow
just
us on Blue Sky.
This can't be thrown on me right now. I'm in
Blue
Jeddah.
Blue Sky, that's freedom calling, James. Head to bluer skies. It's a good time. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you all so much. We hope you enjoyed the episode. We hope you have a wonderful week. We'll see you on Monday with another episode of TRB. Crazy adventures we want to share with you there, and then we'll be back to regular Resistance broadcast episodes starting next week. So take care, everybody, and until next time, we'll see you around, kids.